Okay, so Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
this is our first class of the new year. Yeah. So we are going to do another mantra in this series that I've been doing of mantras that are based on the default mode network in our brain. So this is the mind wandering part of our brain. So whenever we are not focused on a particular topic or an object, our mind, good morning, come on in, just grab a yoga mat and bolsters and come on in. So whenever we're not engaged in something, whenever we're not focused in something, our mind automatically flips into this mind wandering network. And we think in some very specific ways. We go out into the future, thinking about the future, we go into the past, thinking about the past, and then we spend a lot of time just narrating what's happening in our experience. And so within the future, the narrating, the present, and the past, there's a lot of comparing and judging that's going on. So we are often comparing and judging in our present environment. We are comparing and judging into the future and doing it in the past, but it's often getting triggered in the present moment. And so we're going to do comparing today. I want to take a look at that because while comparing is a useful skill for us, we need to be able to compare, we need to be able to analyze. It helps us to make decisions. So if we're trying to decide on a flight to take and we're looking at the cost, one's significantly cheaper, but it's on Spirit Airlines. And we're like, oh, that's not going to be comfortable. So we're assessing. So it helps us to make decisions. Comparing is useful. Where it's not useful is when we start comparing our lives, our experience. Good morning, come on in. Morning. Don't worry, grab a yoga mat, grab a bolster, grab a comfy chair, whatever you like to be comfortable. So this is where it's not useful, when we start comparing ourselves to other people. So when we're seeing someone else's experience, when we're seeing them in the big house and the nice car, and we look at their family and we think, wow, haven't they got it all? If only I had their life. So we take a snapshot of their lives and we impute that they are forever joyful and happy, that they never experience stress, that the spouses never argue, the kids are always perfect. Like we impute all this happiness on this little snapshot picture that we see. And then we feel bad about our own situations because how can we live up to that snapshot that we have just created in our minds, which is nowhere near to reality. So this is the problem, is that we're imputing ideas on people's lives, imagining that they're happier than us, and feeling bad about our own situation. And when it comes to comparing, there's no end to someone having more than you. Well, I guess it ends at Jeff Bezos. But but there's 7 billion people before we get to Jeff Bezos. And so, there's always someone, almost always someone, that's going to have a bigger house, that's going to have what we perceive as a better partner, that we perceive looks better, that we perceive in some way their life is better than ours. And so while we're busy comparing ourselves to someone else and thinking, oh, if only I had their life, they are most likely comparing themselves to someone else, wishing, if only I had their life. So it's this continuous process of everyone comparing to each other. And it's very much built into our culture in the West. Keep up with the Joneses, the grass is always greener on the other side, always be looking over there, what are they doing? And, we see this when we're in line at the supermarket and they've got all the, the celebrity magazines, the People and Us, and you're looking through at these snapshots, right? They're glamorous, and they're getting out of the limousine and walking the red carpet, and it looks so amazing. It's like, wow, look at their lives. And here I am just stuck in line at the supermarket, like my life sucks, and look at them. And then they I think it's People magazine that does the layout of, and stars, they're just like us, to try and make us feel a little better, like, oh, look, they can go and buy their own coffee sometimes at Starbucks, or they can look at them in the grocery store, they're heroes picking out their own produce, But really, it should say they're just like us because their minds are wandering just as much. They're comparing, they're judging, they're thinking about the future, they're thinking about the past. That's how they're just like us. They might have some more pleasant external conditions, but the internal conditions are exactly the same. And even in the celebrity world, where we tend to put people that are famous or influencers, we really tend to put them on a pedestal. Think of the comparing that they're having to go through. Because not only are they being judged on a daily basis, they are constantly being compared. If you're maybe you're a soap opera star, and some of us might look at that and think, wow, you're a soap opera star, but they want to be the primetime TV star, and the primetime TV star wants to be the movie star, and the movie star wants to be the #1 movie star in the box office. And so, they're always comparing, to something else, wanting to be something else, never finding that satisfaction with where they are at that level. And even when they reach the top, because once you have that mind movement of comparing, then you're looking at who's coming up. Oh, look at the new young people coming up to take my position now. So now you're comparing on both sides. So comparing is a challenge for us because it's something we do very unconsciously. We're not aware of when we're doing it. When we're lost in the mind-wandering network, when this part of our brain is active, it's very unconscious. We're doing one thing. We're driving somewhere, we're walking somewhere, we're doing the laundry, we're doing the dishes. We're on autopilot, and our minds just automatically go there. Even we're just walking down the beach, right? Beautiful, beautiful surroundings. But then, our minds just are wandering, and then, look at her, look how young she is, look at her in her bikini, I can't do that, So all of a sudden it's just there so fast, we don't even realize. And then we start fixating, oh God, yeah, I don't look like that anymore. Oh, I'm getting old, and that creak in my back, right? It starts this downward spiral from that one just little glance. And then, how we start comparing ourselves to other people. And so the 21st century has brought a whole new level of comparing for us in social media. That is just a comparing nightmare. Because when we go onto social media, what are we seeing? We're seeing people's highlight reels, right? We're seeing them in La Ventana, look at me, we're seeing, I just got done kite surfing, look at me, I just went to this meditation class, look at me, maybe look at me. So, we're kind of sharing our highlight reels of what we're doing. And of course, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see the snapshot of you sitting on your couch watching Netflix. Right? Or you, look at me scrolling through my Instagram feed, doesn't look that exciting. Or look at me, I'm stuck in line at Star Market, not as exciting, right? But the times that we tend to go on social media are when we are stuck in line at Star Market, or when we are stuck in traffic, or when we're waiting for something, when we're bored, when we're having those kind of everyday mundane moments and it just doesn't feel very exciting. And so that motivation reward pathway that has, made social media a drug for us, right? Where we're like, let me get my little hit. Let me go on and see what everyone else is doing. So here I am sitting in my little living room, bored, feeling like my life's not very exciting. And now I'm looking through everyone else's highlight reel. And this is why when people go on social media, study after study after study shows you feel worse. It's very rare to feel good. Because think about, too, when you go on, again, it's not like you're having that high, exciting moment. You're not in the midst of it scrolling through other people's feed. You might be posting that picture about it and then going back to see how many likes and comments you have, right? But that's just, again, activating that motivation reward pathway, taking you out of the moment. We talked about that a couple weeks ago in the class, how we keep chasing our likes and feeling good about ourselves, chasing our how we feel good about ourselves through likes and comments. So we have to remember the kind of the state of mind that we're in typically when we're going on social media. And this isn't to say that social media is all bad. It's not all bad. We just have to use it responsibly. We can't think that we're smarter than these algorithms. We are not. They have hacked into our brain's survival systems, the motivation reward pathway. They know what they're doing. And they know that when you're bored, and you keep just flipping through and you're seeing everyone else, and then you're feeling bad about yourself, you're getting these drops in dopamine levels, and that's the dopamine disappointment, the opposite. You think you're going to get the reward when you're going on. Some of you, I know those of you that have been with me know what I'm talking about with dopamine hacking, motivation reward. But you get the dopamine disappointment because you didn't get the reward. So now you feel even worse. You have less motivation, you have less energy, you have less willpower to pull yourself away from it. So even though it feels bad, you know this sucks. I'm not feeling good about myself. You can't pull yourself away. This is all designed to keep our attention there at the expense of our happiness. So we have to know that when we go on social media, there's a lot of comparing going on. That's what's making you feel bad. We have to limit the amount of time we spend on social media. Like set a timer, bless you. I'll set a clock, 10, 15 minutes. I want to go on, I want to connect, I want to see what everyone's doing. But then I want to get off. I want to have an alarm go off and tell me it's time. Pull yourself away. And I can even feel it sometimes, like, maybe just 5 more minutes. I'll just snooze that. And it's like, oh no, it's pulling me in. I'm already in it. I'm in the matrix. It's already got me. So this is what we're trying to do, is just to bring more awareness to all of this. Oh my God, it keeps pulling me into the matrix. And in this matrix, I am comparing myself unfairly. Because if I would just go look at my own highlight reel, my own Facebook page, I might go, oh, yeah, that's a pretty exciting life. Yeah, it's all right, because it's my highlight reel. It's not every moment of my day. It's just the highlight points that I'm putting on there. So, we do have to be really careful about this. It's so, this habit, this unconscious habit of comparing ourselves to other people is really ingrained in us. We don't realize how quickly we're doing it. We feel bad about our situation, and we don't even recognize, well, the real problem isn't that they have a nicer car, or they have what I think is maybe a better spouse or partner, or whatever it is. The problem is that I'm comparing myself to it. That's what's making me feel bad. It's these thoughts that I'm having, believing they're better, that their life is better than mine. And even just a couple of weeks ago in a class here, so on Fridays I do the introduction to meditation and mindfulness, and some of you've done that class, and I really go through this whole mind-wandering network, and I talk about all these different ways that we think in the mind-wandering network. And then I was referencing a study by Dr. Matt Killingsworth at Harvard University, where he found that our minds are wandering on average 47% of the time. Almost half the day, our minds are wandering. And that no matter what we are doing, no matter what we are thinking about, no matter what we're doing, no matter how mundane the task that we're doing, if our minds are wandering, we are far less happy than we would be if we were just engaged in the task that's at hand. And so someone had asked the question, I was just going through all this and explaining the study in more detail, but about this happiness study, in that when our minds are wandering, they typically go into some unfriendly neighborhoods. We're typically, we evolved to focus on what could go wrong. We evolved to focus to, kind of rehash that old argument from 5 years ago, that criticism that someone said, or that slight that we perceived, that passive-aggressive behavior. Let me just keep going over that again, right? Regardless if it's changing anything. Let me just keep going into that. And so I was referencing this article, and this woman asked the question. She said, but what is happiness? Because, I see all these other people, and I see their lives, and they look so happy. And so, what is happiness if they look happy and I'm not? And I said, well, how do you feel right now thinking about that? Thinking about how someone else's life is better than yours. That is the problem. It's not that they have more things. It's not that they have the best kiteboarding equipment. It's not that they have the best car or the best RV, right? That's not where their happiness comes from. We've talked about that. That's also part of this motivation reward pathway. Believing these things outside of us can bring us lasting and eternal happiness. They can't. They're not bad. We're not going to turn these things away. But we don't imagine that any of these things externally are going to complete us. They can't. That's not how this pathway works in our brain. It's a short-term reward system. And so what we want to, so while comparing is useful, we need it for decision making, we need it for analyzing, we don't want to get lost in it unconsciously. We want to be really more careful and be more observant of that when it's happening, when we start getting lost in the comparing. And if we're going to compare to anyone, let's at least compare to people that have what we really want, right? People that have peace, and joy, and that are really kind and loving and caring and generous, right? Because then if you're comparing to those people, it's like, well, I want what they have. What are they doing to get that? Because now I can start to replicate the practices that they're doing to find more inner peace and joy and love and kindness and care in my own heart. And then that's in my control. You know, what I can do to get that. And I will tell you 100% what they're not doing. They are not comparing themselves to anyone else. It is the absence of this comparing that at least we need that baseline of peace, of not making ourselves feel bad about our situation simply because of what another person has.